And once you log into the survey site, you're going to see two important pieces of information. The first is this large blue button that says Start New Fairness Survey. Now, this button should be used anytime over the next 3 weeks that you feel that you've been treated unfairly, fairly, or more than fairly in the workplace. Now, this may be due to something that your manager did, or something that the organization did, or a policy or procedure, or something that a customer did, or something that a coworker did. But for whatever reason, if you feel that you have been treated unfairly, fairly, or more than fairly, we want you to start this new fairness survey. It'll pop up into a new screen, and it'll ask you several questions. First, it's going to ask you to just briefly describe the event that was unfair, fair, or more than fair, and then it's going to ask you how long ago this occurred. We would like you to respond to the survey as quickly as possible, so hopefully most of the time it's going to say within the last few minutes, but anything that you remember, if you've forgotten to fill it out, we would like you to fill it out whenever you do remember. You're then going to be asked about how fair the treatment you described was, and the scale ranges from very unfair to way more than fair, with very fair being somewhere in the middle. After you tell us how fair the event was, we then want to know if you thought about other ways that you might have been treated instead. And if you have, you click yes, and you'll see a new question pops up, and here it asks, who or what did you compare your experience treatment against? And here we're talking about, perhaps you didn't get a bonus that you were expecting, and all the other employees got a bonus. Okay, in that case, you might choose here, I compared my treatment against how other employees are or have been treated. It might be the case that you were expecting the bonus and you didn't get it. So here you'd say, I compared my treatment against the treatment I expected. Or it might be something about your own personal standards or what you think is morally righteous. And these are the responses that you should give in those cases. So whatever you're comparing your treatment against, if you're comparing your treatment against anything, when you were thinking about how fair or unfair or more than fair the treatment you received was, we want you to fill this out. The second thing, so once you do that, you'll see that what pops up here are a few more questions that help us to understand whether things would have been better or worse if the comparison that you were thinking of had occurred instead. You'll see also that the statements are going to be in reference to the comparison that you made. So in this case, we chose my personal standards, and so the first question says, I would have felt blank if I had been treated in a manner more consistent with my personal standards. You'll then be asked to briefly describe the comparison and any other comparisons that you might have had that you weren't able to select in the drop-down box here. The second thing that we're interested in knowing is whether or not there was someone or something that was responsible for the event that you thought about when assessing fairness. If you thought, perhaps, that your manager was responsible for the unfair treatment that you received, you can choose my supervisor. Or if it was a coworker, you'd say a coworker. Or perhaps it was just random chance, or the fates, or perhaps God did something more than fair, or whatever the case may be. Whoever you think is responsible or who could have changed the event, we want you to make that selection here. You'll then be asked to rate how responsible you were for the treatment that you received and how responsible the entity that you perceived as primarily responsible was for the treatment that you received. So again, your responses will be populated into these three questions down here. Finally, you'll be asked to briefly describe what someone or something could have done to change the treatment that you received. And that can be as little as a sentence or as long as you would like it to be. Then you can submit the survey, and you'll be brought back to your progress page. The second piece of information that's important is how you're doing in terms of progress towards completing all of the requirements for the study. So if you actually want to get into the raffle for those $20 Visa gift cards, you're going to have to complete all of the pieces that are here. So you can see Right now, you're actually doing the training video. So when you finish the video and click Finish and return to the progress site, this will say completed. And then you see that there are 3 surveys that you'll have to fill out over the next 3 weeks. The first one should be due within a couple of days of you signing up for the study. The second one will be due in about a week and a half after that, and the final one will be 3 weeks from signing up from the study. And as they become available, you'll see Start Survey 2 and Start Survey 3 here. In order to actually start the survey, you just click on the link. And what will pop up in the window is the actual survey. So here we're doing Survey 1, and we're going to ask you information about how fair your supervisor is in general, how fair your organization is in general, whether or not you feel that you identify with your organization, whether or not you feel that there's a reciprocal relationship with your organization, whether or not you do things that go above and beyond to help your supervisor and your organization, and whether or not your performance meets the expectations required of you. Finally, we're going to ask if you intend to find a position in another organization soon. Although there are 51 questions here, they're very short, and the reaction time should be pretty quick on all of these. So it turns out that this only takes about 8 to 10 minutes to complete. When you finish the survey, you can submit it, and you'll see then that the survey has been completed. So long as all 4 of these are changed to completed, or your status is changed to completed in all 4 of these boxes here, by the end of the 3 weeks, you'll be entered in that raffle, and hopefully you've provided some good feedback for your organization, and you will have helped me to achieve passing another hurdle towards achieving my PhD, which is going to be great. So thank you very much again for considering to participate, and we really hope you do, and thank you very much for any information that you can provide.